The Monaco Grand Prix, often hailed as the glittering gem in the crown of Formula One, is a race that is deeply rooted in tradition and history. Its iconic status is undeniable. Yet the recent race that took place on the narrow, winding streets of the Principality has sparked a resurgence of a long-standing debate. Have modern F1 cars outgrown the confines of Monaco's historic circuit? The race, while a spectacle in its own right, has gradually morphed into more of a parade than a nail-biting competition. Observing the top 10 cars trailing each other for 78 laps around the 2-mile circuit, with each driver seemingly competing for the title of the slowest, is far from the thrilling display that the sport strives to present. With Formula One nearly severing ties with the historic venue just 2 years ago, could this season's race be the final straw? Or is there a way to rekindle the thrill of city racing and preserve Formula One's most renowned Grand Prix? The Monaco Grand Prix that took place last weekend was a microcosm of both the best and worst elements of the race. Saturday's qualifying was nothing short of spectacular, with Charles Leclerc clinching the pole position with an awe-inspiring lap around his hometown. Under the intense scrutiny of both McLaren's and his teammate, he had to execute a flawless lap. Oscar Piastri's 3 fastest sectors would have been sufficient for the pole position, but to combine them into a single lap would have necessitated, in the words of the Australian driver, the best lap of my life. Contrary to the popular belief that a pole position at Monaco is a surefire ticket to a race win, Leclerc is the outlier. He has claimed the pole twice before, but a flawed strategy and a malfunctioning drive shaft thwarted his chances of victory. Since the 2022 Australian Grand Prix, Leclerc had amassed 12 pole positions without a single race win. Monaco marked his 13th pole position since his victory in Australia. On Sunday, Leclerc finally broke the Monaco jinx and overturned his dismal conversion record of pole positions, sailing to victory in what was essentially a 161-mile victory lap. Kevin Magnussen's failure to use a brake pedal on the first lap provided most drivers with an opportunity to fit their mandatory second compound under the red flag. This meant that when the race restarted, almost every driver had no need to make another pit stop, eliminating the one factor that usually injects some excitement into the Grand Prix. It rapidly devolved into a contest to see who could complete the slowest lap in an effort to conserve tire life, ensuring they could last the entire race length and prevent any free pit stop windows from opening up in the field. Messages poured in over the team radios, instructing drivers to slow down, making a mockery of everything that F1 stands for. For a long time, it has been the case that watching the qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix is far more exhilarating than watching the actual race. If it were any other race on the calendar that consistently delivered such subpar racing, it would have been axed long ago. But due to the grandeur and history of Monaco, it has managed to hold on. It has been decades since Monaco has consistently delivered exciting racing, but this year was by far the worst. For the first time in F1 history, the top 10 in qualifying didn't change positions during the race, each finishing exactly where they started. Clearly, something is amiss, and the problem is glaringly obvious. Formula One cars have completely outgrown the Monaco Grand Prix. So how do you rectify this issue? Well, you either downsize the F1 cars, a solution that many would support, modify the Monaco circuit or the rules for the race to inject more excitement, which I'll delve into shortly, or you remove F1 from Monaco, a solution that seems the most probable. In 2022, the Monaco Grand Prix extended its contract with Formula One until 2025, meaning there'll be at least one more race at the circuit before a new deal will have to be negotiated. The 2022 contract was on much improved terms for F1, which had made it clear that it was ready to walk away from Monaco if concessions were not made. The race pays less than half of what many of the more recent additions to the calendar pay for the privilege of hosting the race. But for once, it isn't money that is the problem for Liberty Media, F1's owners. While Monaco might have a history as Formula One's premier race, that hasn't been the case for quite some time. Liberty Media, who assumed control of F1 in 2017, have made it abundantly clear from the outset that they want an exciting product to market to fans worldwide. The Monaco Grand Prix does not deliver that. For a long time, the notion of cutting Monaco was considered sacrilege by fans and those within F1. But a tipping point has been reached. And after Sunday's race, the F1 world laid out some harsh truths for Monaco. Max Verstappen, with George Russell standing beside him, told the media, I think George and I are going to go for a run because we didn't really have any exercise. He laughed, speaking via play. My God, that was terrible. So boring. Russell chimed in. My tires were going. I was scared we were going to lose the tires because we were driving so slow. We need to do something. They need to change something. Compulsory pit stops? Mandatory pit stop? Verstappen joked. Mandatory nap. The words of the Red Bull driver were echoed by Mercedes' seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, who finished seventh, as well as McLaren's Lando Norris, who finished fourth. It was non-eventful. Everyone drove so slow, so it didn't matter what tires you were on. We were driving seconds off the pace, said Hamilton. I don't know what it was like watching, but I'm sure people were falling asleep. Norris said, the race being halted and restarted had thrown any fun or any action out of the window. You're just driving around in no man's land, doing nothing. You don't feel like there's a lot of things to target and aim for, but that is how it's always been here. Of course, there will always be those who defend the Grand Prix. Formula E driver Lucas di Grassi attempted to defend the race with a commonly used viewpoint, highlighting the difficulty of driving the circuit. No one has ever claimed that what F1 drivers do is easy, especially at Monaco. But when Charles Leclerc is joking with his race engineer mid-race about revealing just how far off his maximum pace he's driving, it shatters any illusions that these drivers are pushing the boundaries of possibility. Yes, on Saturday, the driving is phenomenal. Watching them navigate the car a hair's breadth from the track walls is awe-inspiring. But no one believes that's what's happening on Sunday. The social media jokes about Piastri being adopted by Leclerc, so it could be another home race for him and Oscar's mom, hinting that Yuki Tsunoda was actually a favorite child by tagging him first in a post, provided more entertainment for the fans than the actual racing. The two Red Bull teams were playing noughts and crosses over social media posts. There was so little happening during the race. As we look ahead to the future of Formula One, the fate of the Monaco Grand Prix hangs in the balance. With the impending introduction of new engine regulations in 2026, a fresh contract will need to be negotiated if the race is to remain a fixture on the F1 calendar. The prospect of losing Monaco is a bitter pill to swallow for many, but the reality is that if it is to continue, it must evolve to deliver a race that captivates audiences. For Monaco to endure, change is not just desirable, it's essential. One proposal that has been gathering momentum involves modifying the race regulations to mandate additional pit stops. Given the current size of the cars, overtaking on the track is a rarity, and even with significant tire offsets this year, no breakthroughs were made towards the end of the race. Therefore, one potential solution could be to enforce more strategic complexity by requiring the use of all three tire compounds during the race, as opposed to the standard two. This approach could introduce an element of tactical risk, providing teams with an opportunity to seize an advantage through strategic pit stop timing. Alterations to the track itself could also be considered, although implementing such changes on the densely packed streets of Monaco would undoubtedly present a significant challenge. Three-time Monaco winner Lewis Hamilton, a fervent admirer of the track, has suggested that F1 should explore ways of adapting to enhance the spectacle for fans. He has been championing this cause for several years now. They should devise a new formula for it rather than sticking to the status quo, Hamilton opined. He expressed his wish for broader roads and a wider track, but acknowledged the limitations imposed by Monaco's compact size. He proposed the introduction of special tires for this race to necessitate more pit stops, thereby creating more variability. Hamilton's sentiments were echoed by McLaren's Lando Norris, who also highlighted the unsuitability of modern cars to the track. The cars need to be smaller and lighter, he stated, attributing the lack of racing to the excessive size and weight of the cars. He pointed out that the cars are so wide that they occupy almost half the track, making overtaking virtually impossible. The regulation changes, slated for 2026, aim to make the cars lighter and, hopefully, smaller. However, the extent of the change may not be sufficient to make a significant difference. The FIA has pledged to reintroduce smaller F1 cars, but has conceded that achieving this will require numerous regulation changes over an extended period. Last season, Red Bull's team principal Christian Horner suggested that the track layout needed to be altered to create at least one overtaking opportunity, and he reiterated this viewpoint in Monaco this year. It's clear to everyone that change is imperative. With just 1 year remaining on Monaco's contract, the time to act is now. Whether this involves changes to the race regulations or modifications to the circuit itself, something must be done, or we could be witnessing the final Monaco Grand Prix in 2025. What are your thoughts on Sunday's race, and how would you suggest improving the racing? I'd love to hear your insights in the comments section below. If you found this analysis insightful and want to stay abreast of the latest developments in Formula One, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more in-depth coverage and analysis of the world of Formula One.